For years, millions watched Rue Bennett survive relapse, withdrawal, and the destruction of her life. Then, in the finale, she dies from a fentanyl overdose. The internet immediately split. One half praised the conclusion as a brutal, necessary truth. The other half condemned it as a lazy punishment that betrayed the core of the show. The split reflects a conflict in the script's underlying structure. To understand why this finale caused such a visceral reaction, we have to look past the emotion and analyze the script clinically as a technical case study. Look at this timeline. In traditional storytelling, a character's choices dictate their destination. Exercising agency towards emotional resolution provides closure, but a narrative consequence operates differently. A terminal plot event abruptly interrupts their trajectory, slanting the arc into a brick wall. Rue's fatal overdose functions exactly like this hard stop. It is a sudden, external consequence that halts her ongoing struggle midway through the process. Substituting a consequence for closure strips a protagonist of control at the precise moment the audience expects a resolution. The defense for this ending points to how the show built its world. The writers consistently treated addiction as an eroding force that steadily isolates the protagonist. The cinematography relied heavily on glittering makeup and slow-motion sequences, which frequently distracted from how terrifying Rue's condition actually was. Underneath the neon lighting, she was actively disappearing. Writing a neat, redemptive conclusion after seasons of mounting damage would have ignored the bleak reality established in episode 1. A chemical overdose does not care about character arcs. It does not pause for emotional growth or audience affection. It simply hits the system and stops the heart. In this script, addiction acts as an anti-narrative force. It is designed to systematically dismantle timelines and destroy character arcs rather than fulfill them. For viewers treating the series as an unfiltered warning, Rue's sudden death represents perfect dramaturgical consistency. The opposing critique asks a structural question. Did the writer allow Rue enough agency to complete her emotional journey before ending it? These connections represent Rue's stakes, the specific relationships she navigated. The audience anticipated addressing her mother's exhaustion and the childhood stolen from Gia, but a sudden terminal event abruptly abandons these variables. The connections sever, leaving emotional threads hanging unresolved. There is a mechanical difference between a tragedy that resolves a story and a tragedy that merely interrupts it. One requires the character to reckon with their actions. The other just happens to them. Eliminating a protagonist before they address the collateral damage of their choices reduces them from an active agent to a passive victim. There is a crucial variable that complicated the show's narrative math: the deeply humanizing, Emmy-winning performance of the lead actor. Zendaya injected humor, manipulation, and profound terror into the role. She prevented Rue from flattening into a one-dimensional cautionary tale. This high-fidelity portrayal bypassed normal viewer cynicism. It generated a deeply protective, parasocial attachment, making audiences desperately want the character to survive. When an actor delivers that level of nuance, it raises the structural requirement for the script. The writing must deliver a send-off that matches the emotional complexity of the performance. The finale felt like personal grief to many because the performance had outgrown the rigid boundaries and a blunt plot device. The way the audience views these themes changed when the show's subject matter crossed into reality. In 2023, Angus Cloud passed away. His beloved character, Fesco, had provided a distinct, gentler contrast to the chaos surrounding Rue. His death created meta-narrative bleed. The protective wall between the fiction on the screen and the viewer's reality collapsed. Watching a brutally realistic fictional overdose becomes exponentially heavier when the audience is already mourning a fatal overdose within the actual cast. This raises an ethical question about media. Does television owe its audience thematic hope when it's